Bless you, Radio Green Giant FM. Welcome to another episode of the What's Up Bro podcast, which honestly is this beautiful opportunity for us to get to know the De La Salle brothers more up close and personally. My name is Cora, and with me is, of course, Brother Ouija.
Hi, Cora. Nice to be with you again for another episode of What's Up, Bro. And to all our listeners in this podcast, we welcome you again to another special episode. And we have with us in this episode two special brothers who would be joining us and would be sharing about themselves, about their life in college, and about their process of discernment and discovery of their vocation as De La Salle brothers. Let's welcome Brother Vince and Brother Mico. Hi, bros.
Hello.
Hello, Brother Vinny. Hi, Cora.
Hello.
Aga from the City of Smiles, Bacolod City.
Shout out also from the City of Oz, Ozami City, Mindanao.
Something special today. Well, first of all, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing with us your time. We have a lot to go through today, especially on the topics of college and relationships, which are two things that are very relatable, not just to me, but also to our fellow student listeners. But before we dive deep, I just want to start by asking, how are you doing, brothers? It's been a year, or more than actually, since the quarantine began.
I am actually doing a lot better compared to when the first lockdown was announced, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bacolod City is my first assignment coming out from an initial formation community. So, grabe yung the struggles of just flying out of Manila and going here to Bacolod. I had to spend a 14-day quarantine in a facility, and those were the things that you would not a welcome that is not expected, right? But since that time, I can say that things have been a lot better. I have been able to adjust. I feel happy now na I was able to build rapport, for example, with my students, adjust my lessons, and make it online. So those things.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. How about you, Brother Vince? How's everything on your end?
From my end, I think I can see that I'm adjusted already to the new setting of shifting the teaching modality to the online setup. At first, it was really nerve-wracking, or somehow it was shaking my life. Being a year already of teaching inside the classroom, getting used to the classroom setup, and then bringing it to the online platform. It's like sometimes it's like a monologue facing the screen of my laptop when my students do not open their laptop. But somehow I have adjusted already, and I think interestingly, I have not been home since the lockdown started last year, because I'm originally from Bacolod. So I have not spent vacation for a year and a half already, but hoping that things will become better in the coming days. Here in Mindanao, especially here in Ozamis, we have minimal cases. So somehow, with two other brothers from the community, we can do biking every weekend. Somehow, we're a bit not really lax in terms of restrictions. We still observe the minimal standards, but somehow we can move a little bit freely compared to other provinces.
That's great to hear. So glad that you get to spend some bonding time, especially with the brothers.
Yeah, and a lot of it transpired from our brothers in the past year, and I'm sure for you also, Cora, as a student, right? There are a lot of things that have happened, especially in an online setup. But I would agree with Brother Vince and Brother Mico. It has been very challenging the past year, but I think going into another year gives us more hope. Gives us more. I hope it gives us hope, right? And I hope things would change for the better. But it's interesting, Cora. How are you as a student in the after more than a year in quarantine?
Well, I think I can say that I've somewhat been more adjusted as compared to the first time that lockdown was imposed, especially as a student. somehow getting a hang of the workload, but it's also still a challenge, definitely, especially given that we're not in an environment that's necessarily conducive to our learning, especially since most of us are learning near our beds. So that's also a challenge. Yeah, exactly. But it's been good. Very thankful to still be safe at home.
Right. Thanks, Gar. And it's interesting that we're talking about the school because this is really something that all of us, diba? I hope, and I think all of us would miss and would want to be back in school again. And with the topic that we have today, right? It's also something that we're going to talk about, how the brothers were once students, right? And how they eventually came to meet our De La Salle brothers when they were still they're still young, but in their younger years. So yeah.
Definitely.
Why am I getting a bit nervous?
No need to worry, brother. Well, actually, on that note, Brother Luigi did introduce our opener for today. How did you first come to know the community of De La Salle brothers before you became one of them? Would anyone like to start?
Okay, I'll start.
Yeah.
Okay. For me, actually, it was not in college that I met the brothers because I studied college in La Salle school. I studied in a state university in Iloilo, which is far from the nearest La Salle school, which is in Bacolod. But I worked in 2009. I worked with University of Saint La Salle after a year of hospital experience. I applied to join the academe to teach as an instructor for the College of Nursing. I think that's my first chance or time to meet the brothers, especially in the orientation for new employees. The brother president was the one explaining the life of the founder. But I really got close to the brothers 3 or 4 years after I entered USLS and joined faculty, when I transferred as an office staff for the social development office of the university. That's where I met the brothers, the chance encounter na, "Uy, brotherable ka." Usap tayo, punta ka sa office, usap tayo. And that's where it started actually.
Wow, I didn't know that was a term, brotherable. You have brother potential.
Yeah, I actually for that day I was really, huh?
Understandable, especially since you've lived your life the way you did before that point. And then there goes a brother saying that you might have a vocation in the brotherhood. How about you, Brother Mico?
Good day to all our viewers and listeners. My name again is Brother Mico, and I'm currently assigned here in Bacolod City, in University of Saint La Salle and in St. Joseph's School of Salle. When I was in college, I first met the brothers when I was in college. I was not enrolled to a La Salle school when I was in junior high and during my elementary years. I studied in De La Salle College of St. Benilde, and aside from, of course, being a responsible student, I was also pretty active in several extracurricular activities. So I would say that I was a student leader when I was in college. And it was during one of my engagements as a student leader when I first met a De La Salle brother. I was a newbie during that time. I was part of an organization called Benildean Student Envoys. The job of that organization is to tour VIP around the campus. VIPs around the campus, De La Salle brothers, guests of the school, etc., etc. And during the time, I was a newbie, and then I was already assigned to usher around Brother Vince Fernandez, FSC, and his family. It was his birthday. It was his birthday during that day, and together with his family, I was tasked to guest him for lunch, and then to tour him around 2 campuses of Benilde, the School of Design and Arts, and then the Taft campus. So I was very jittery. I was very nervous. I was preparing for that actual encounter, that first encounter with a De La Salle brother. Actually, I was preparing my questions, just like not just like this interview. But I was preparing my questions, and then I was just surprised when he entered the restaurant. He shook my hand, and then actually he seemed more interested to know more about my life than I was. So it was reversed. Parang he was the one asking me a lot of questions. How are you? How are your parents? Where did you come from? What is your course, etc., etc. And the initial impression was really, oh, a De La Salle brother, very down to earth, very humble, and I didn't suddenly that feeling of being jittery, being nervous, gone away, down the drain. So, yun. The tour went well, and then after that tour, Brother Vince told me, you know, you have a potential. I would invite you to join the Brothers Live-In program. The Brothers Live-In program is actually the program intended for college students, young professionals to learn more about the brothers' life, to stay with the brothers for 5 days and join them for their activities, daily activities. And then I was caught off guard, and then I said, I still vividly remember that moment. No, brother. I'm on my way to my class now. I'm not. So I went straight to my class, and then the rest is history. I'm sure you would ask more about that later.
Yes.
I will cut my story short.
Yes. Actually, it's funny that you mentioned the live-in program, because when I, like you, I didn't grow up in a LaSallian education up until I got to LaSalle here in Manila, and I've seen so many Instagram stories from friends of mine who actually participated in the live-in program, and I also have a few that I know who are also aspirants and all of that. And it's really interesting to see how both vocation and your college life mesh so well, especially given this opportunity from the vocations ministry and all of that. So yeah, thank you so much.
That is also a sign for you. Being
No.
surrounded by aspirants and having close friends being with the brothers. No, I'm just kidding.
And now talking with the brothers, Brother Mico.
It would actually be a sign for you, Cora.
It's a beautiful vocation. I'll give them that. But yeah, knowing what you know about the De La Salle brothers now, would you have ever guessed that in college you would be one of them?
I think I'll start here. For me, it never crossed my mind. Basically because I did not had my college degree in a LaSalle school, and the closest thing to religious I know of would be the Jesuits, because I have a tito who is a Jesuit priest, and I practically lived with his parents when I was studying in college, and I would have Jesuit shirts with me, and people would also think I'm a seminarian of the Jesuits because he would give me Jesuit shirts. But the brothers was far from my thinking or from my consciousness. Not until what I told earlier na sinabihan ako ng brother na, "Uy, brotherable ka." It never crossed my mind, because at that point also I was praying and really praying to to settle down at that time.
You know, ano talaga pinagdadasal mo, Brother Vince?
I was really praying to settle down. Sabi ko, Lord, I've been working for this long already. I had girlfriends in the past. Baka this time pwede naman asawa na ibigay mo sa akin. I really wanted to get married at that
Very
time.
prayerful, brother.
Sabi ko, I actually said, if kailangan magpa-fasting ulit ako, no colored and flavored drinks, no rice, I will do that. Just give me a wife to be already.
Pray to Saint Joseph, brother now. Interesting. How about you, Brother Mico? Would you have guessed that?
I would just like to say that was the first time I actually heard Brother Vince's story, that he was actually praying for a while and get settled down. But for my end, no. My answer would be a no. Actually, before entering college, I sort of knew what I wanted to be already. I had my dreams. I had my plans after college. I wanted to enter the corporate setting or even establish my own business. That's why my course is on business administration. So that was really the goal, the path that I wanted to take. So being invited to become a participant of the Brothers Living program, you would understand how I resisted at first because
Yes.
I have this picture in my head already na ito dapat yung kung sino ako maging after college. And so when the idea was proposed to me, even just to join the live-in program and consider the religious life, I was resistant because never in my life I considered becoming a priest or becoming a brother. So
yeah, very interesting to consider the two stories that our brothers had. It's so out, I would say in a normal language, it's out of the blue, or it's out of maybe a confluence of factors that really led up to that decision. It's interesting to know what are the things that actually led to that decision. But maybe we could talk about that later if maybe Cora has other questions.
Yeah.
But I just observed with the stories that the brothers shared, it's not as if it's so clear for them. Right?
True.
That's my observation. That it's not as if it's painted black and white that I'm gonna be a brother. I don't think it's ever going to be like that, right? So,
that's right.
And actually, since Brother VG mentioned other questions, I actually wanted to ask, because Brother Vince, you mentioned that you had girlfriends in the past. So actually, this is like how we can insert actually back in college or even in high school. Did any of you share in romantic relationships, and how did that factor in when you were trying to consider where does God want me to be in my life?
Probably for me, I'm a late bloomer when it comes to romantic relationships. Now, back in high school, I'm very torpe. Even until college, torpe pa rin ako. But I had my first girlfriend in college. I'm about to fourth year college na ako na when I had my first girlfriend. Then I had another one after when I was already working. Siguro for me, it affected lang my decision because one, I'm really read that time that the brothers invited me. I'm ready to commit to something else then. No, I have plans na by this age I will get married, start a family. There's that readiness for me to commit, but somewhere else. Then the brothers came in. It really hindi to sa plano ko. But somehow for me, there's that openness already to discern because I'm really planning. I'm discerning already, planning already to settle down, but it's just a different way of settling down, not the settling down that I had in mind. So I think it paved the way for my discernment for the brothers' vocation.
How about you, Brother Mico? Would you have anything to share?
Very, very interesting, Brother Vince. May I ask you further questions, Brother Vince? No, just kidding.
Are you trying to evade the question?
No, I just didn't want to answer the question. No, I'm just kidding. When I look back and reflect on the relationships, on the topic of relationships, the first relationship I had was when I was in high school, but I won't really label that as a serious relationship. So that was around when I was third year to fourth year before coming to college. The second one would be when I was in second year college. Of course, in between those time periods, I would have crushes. I would have girls that I like. But when I was in second year college, that was the time that I actually pursued. Brother VG, why are you?
I'm listening, brother. Very interesting.
That I actually pursued someone. So I don't know what to say anymore. This might be
That's
off
all
record.
right.
No. That was the first time that I actually pursued someone and had chosen to be more serious.
Mhm.
So, but it did not last very long. As you can see, that's the reason why I am here. uh, so it did not last. It did not work out. I was in second year. We were both in second year college, and we were both course mates studying the same course. We were actually blockmates in college. So, but it did not work out because of several
Mhm.
complicated factors. And then I don't know, call it destiny or what. After we finally decided to part ways, it was the time
Mhm.
when I got the formal invitation to join the Brothers Live-In program
Mhm.
from Brother Alex. So yun. After nun, parang it did not work out. We decided, and then
Mhm.
probably 3 days or a week later, I got the invitation, and then
Wow.
curiosity, I tried. So yeah.
Sounds like God moved in fast with his timing during that moment in time. But wow,
Yeah.
that's really interesting to know, especially since a lot of us in college, that's our reality, right? We're looking at, possible future partners
Correct.
and also,
Yeah.
but also
True.
seeing that it doesn't end there for
Correct.
some of us, right? How about
Yeah.
you, Brother
Yeah.
EG?
I think my take on that one is I would say that all of us um have experience, right? Falling in love, being in relationships,
Mm-hmm.
like desiring to enter romantic relationships. It may not have happened the way we wanted it to be. I'm not just talking about the brothers, but everyone, right? I think college is the perfect time for us to really understand what relationships are, the nature of having relationships,
Mm-hmm.
and at least for us in the brothers' life, in the brotherhood, is something that is very very important for us. Not talking about just
Mm-hmm.
romantic relationships again, but
Mm-hmm.
relationships in general. Because when we grow up in grade school and then eventually in high school, where the adolescent stage, right, exposes us to all our hormones, all our feelings for others, our
Yes.
rage, our urges, and all those things. But then eventually in college, another like milestone or life in psychology, they call it like the stages, right? Another stage in our development. We start to consider relationships as a very serious part in our life, and as what you've said, Cora, the importance of looking for life companions, and for in Brother Mico's case and Brother Vince's case, settling down in life, it plays an important role, right? And I do believe that that's something all of us, especially for our young Lasalians who are in college now, it's a perfect time for us to discover and enter relationships, but of course, make sure to make it healthy, right?
Yes.
And so
True.
that, and as what you said,
Exactly.
Cora, it goes beyond that, right? And it's interesting in our next part, right? It's interesting to know how these relationships that our brothers had played an important role in their discernment in entering the brotherhood.
Mm-hmm. And actually, like you said, I would love to hear more about how all of this really factored in. What were the signs? I will take notes for this joke lang. But yeah, we would love to hear more about how you were able to discern like what God's invitation was in your life. And we will do so right after this short break. We all know that the Korean wave, or as most people like to call it, Hallyu, has been taking the world by storm, especially Filipinos.
I know. It's so easy to fall in love with South Korean culture because it didn't stop with just K-dramas and K-pop.
Yeah, even aspects from Korean cuisine, fashion, skincare, even language have also been adapted and are being practiced by numerous Filipinos until now.
It's amazing that we have an organization in DLSU that appreciates both Korean and Filipino culture, and that is none other than Aja Animo.
And guess what? they have the perfect event that celebrates the ties between Filipino and South Korean culture. Isn't that exciting?
It sure is. Aja Animo brings you Aja in Sync this coming August 20 from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Tune in as it will be a jam-packed with performances which have a Filipino-South Korean twist that you definitely wouldn't want to miss.
Definitely! It will be open to both DLSU and non-DLSU students. So what are you waiting for? Save the date, make sure to pre-register, and see you there. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the What's Up Bro podcast. I am here with Brother Luigi and, of course, our special guests, Brother Vince and Brother Mico.
Right. Welcome back, everyone. And the first half of our episode, we were talking about the life of our brothers, how they really got to know the brothers. And now we're at that point where we're going to try to look into the factors that really made them decide to go into the brotherhood, their relationships in the past, and their life stories, and how all of that came together and allowed them, empowered them to decide to be a brother. So, bros, that's we come to the point that we'd like to ask, what are the signs, or not signs, but what are the indicators and signs that you considered in making that decision to actually try out the brotherhood?
Back when I was in college, I would describe myself as a typical college student. I was trying my best to, of course, be responsible in terms of my academic engagements, submit requirements, attend my classes, and not cut them. So
That's true.
I was a typical college student. Aside from my academic responsibilities, I was also in several extracurricular activities, like I mentioned before. The initial sign that I considered when I first got attracted to the life of the brothers is really my attraction to the apostolate of the brothers, which is teaching. I shared a while ago about the Brothers Live-In program, and one of the many things that program allowed me to see is the reality of the world nowadays, which I was probably naive to and insensitive to before entering the program. So probably a concrete situation whenever my other batchmates or lower batches would know this pre-pandemic time, that when we roam around Taft Avenue, there are many people who need our help there. There are many beggars begging for alms. And when I got exposed to the Brothers Live-In program, particularly our apostolate to the St. LaSalle Preschool, wherein students come from urban poor families near Andrew Gonzalez building, I came to a realization na this is the world we live in. These are realities that I was not aware of. And probably as a student during that time, that was the initial spark na, and told myself, maybe I can do something. Maybe I can do something about this. And during that time, it came in a form of being more involved with the brothers and becoming and eventually deciding to become an aspirant. So initial attraction was really the service, that opportunity to reach out to the others, especially to the most needy.
Yes. How about you, Brother Vince?
For my part, I think going back earlier to what Brother Luigi said before the break, the relationship that I had in college paved the way also for me to really plot out my life. Now, when I had my first relationship, my first girlfriend, I started looking ahead at my life, what I want to happen, and it also paved the way for me to really discern the brother's life because as I said earlier, I was ready to commit that time. But I think what really attracted me first to the brothers, because it changed my perspective of how I saw the brothers as an employee of the brothers in La Salle School. I was really scared of them. No, that they are my bosses, of course. And then coming to the Brothers Live-In program and having meals with them, and it was a entirely different scenario. This brother that I am so afraid of would crack these jokes that I would have not expected him to crack that joke. For example, there's a different side to them, but discerning really when I became an aspirant and discerning with the brothers, like what really attracted me to commit to the life of the brothers and to decide to enter formation of the brothers is how I saw the three things that I really am doing already and love, how they were able to integrate that in their life. First, back then I'm already active serving the church as a member of Youth for Christ and then later on Singles for Christ. So that part of serving the church, serving God. And I also fell in love with the ministry of teaching when I started working in La Salva Colod. And then lastly, the love for the poor, which I am in also as a volunteer of Gawad Kalinga. And when I became an aspirant, I was really working as community organizer for Gawad Kalinga. And how I saw that all of these facets of what I love already are integrated into one life of the brothers. And it made me easy. It made it easier for me to commit to the life of the brothers.
Yes, if I may just add to what Brother Vince mentioned, particularly on sharing in a romantic relationship, being involved in a romantic relationship. Looking back now, it's not mandatory, but I guess it would be very helpful for candidates to the brother's life to at least experience falling in love and being romantically involved. Why? Because as for my experience, it's that first time that you allow yourself to be vulnerable, to give more of yourself to others, to sacrifice yourself, to sacrifice a part of yourself for the other. And that is love. And probably that is the foundation also of the brother's life. That love that you wish to give unconditionally and in an inclusive manner to others. So I think it's important. Though it's not really required na dapat mag-girlfriend ka na bago ka pumasok, or dapat you are romantically, you at least had a romantic partner before entering. But it's helpful because it's an experience of love. Whatever that is, at the end of the day, it's an experience of love.
Yeah,
and I agree with Brother Mico, from that experience of loving romantically, you refine your idea of love also, that there are other ways of loving. I love my parents, I love my work, I love what I am doing. These are different ways of loving also, and I continue to refine that, and eventually leading to how I responded to this what I believe is a call of God for me, for the brother's life. It's also my understanding of how I am loved and how I can love more, as what Brother Miko said, inclusively now.
Actually, hearing all of you speak about discernment and what vocation really is, it calls to mind the quote of a certain saint, I forgot who, but who said that our vocation is to love. That's really it at its core. And when we think about vocation, it's really how God calls us to best love. Like, this is the way that He thinks we can best give ourselves to other people. And it's such a beautiful consideration to know that all of the things that you love to do is what God wants you to keep doing also, in a sense. And so, yeah, in ways from all of you sharing today, it's this constant process of saying yes. And so I guess my final question would be, as somebody who's part of the youth, what are ways that we can continue saying our yes and eventually find what God really wants us to do in life? Is there any?
I guess my advice to all our viewers and our listeners now is to realize and to keep in mind that all of us are a work in progress, right? You might be in college now, you might be in wherever you are, junior high school, a working professional. You have to realize that we are all a work in progress. And I always consider life as a journey. So probably today you might be feeling sad or lonely, but who knows, the next day, God will give you the grace of happiness, of love that you are looking for. In terms of discernment, that is very important, because oftentimes we have a tendency to beat ourselves up when we don't measure to society's expectations. And probably expectations of people around us. So for those probably exploring a vocation to whatever life it may be, whether it's the married life, religious life, or single blessedness, know that you are a work in progress and you should not be in a rush to actually decide on something. So enjoy the questions, enjoy the process, and second, and I think equally important, is to surround yourself with people who can support you, such as your friends. A good mentor, a good spiritual director would really be very helpful as you try to explore which path you want to take in life. Most especially if you are considering a vocation to the religious life, and especially if it's going to be the De La Salle Brothers life.
Plug.
Plug.
How about you, Brother
I
Vince?
will pick up from what also Brother Mico said. No, for me, I think invest in good and healthy relationships. This will help you help to see you through after college. No, would it be if it would be work? No, if you want to really pursue your discernment with religious life, it will see you through. My friends in college, my workmates before have helped me in times that I would really need other perspective from that of the brothers. Now I have other people that I can talk to. Now, as like what Brother Mico said, it's also important to have a spiritual director to help you process all these plans that you have. But I think it's really important to invest in good and healthy relationships. With these relationships and the way you committed yourself to these relationships would also help you in your way of committing to the vocation that you want to pursue, whether it's married life, single blessedness, or religious life. It will help you with your own way of relating with the people that you will commit to. Just like for us and the brothers, we committed ourselves to the brothers and the ministry of the brothers, and it really involves us relating also, falling in love daily with our life and with the God who calls us. Same thing with other vocations, married life. It will also involve you to wake up daily, falling in love with that person you committed to, or to pursue single blessedness. You have to love that life also that you want to pursue. So I think, and the relationships that comes along with us will help us also, will help us grow as a person, and will help us, with our making commitments and decision making.
Right. Yeah, I would agree to what our brothers shared. No? And I think with everything that we've shared in this episode, what really came up to me while listening to all your stories is the word love. Right? It's important for us at this time to understand, especially in this very difficult time of the pandemic, how difficult, how challenging, but maybe how hopeful loving could be. Diba? Because I would understand vocation, especially for young people. For us to understand, vocation is kind of confusing as the word itself. No? When young people hear it for the first time, they immediately think sometimes, okay, that's being a priest or that's being a religious or what. But really, vocation, now that we're brothers, and I don't want to be biased, but vocation really is about us loving. It's about us finding our unique way of loving, right? And I think being in college is a perfect time to learn that. It's like a skill, right? It's like a skill that how would I best love? What would be the best way for me to love? Diba? And even, why is that so important? It's because I think we couldn't say, and it would be very difficult for us as young people to say that we love God if we don't actually experience human, physical, concrete loving here on earth, right? So, like, how could you say that you love someone who you couldn't see? This is, I think, another quote from a saint. How could you love someone you couldn't see if you couldn't love the people that you are with? If you couldn't feel love for the poor, if you couldn't feel that you're called to give yourself for a bigger cause, right? And I think vocation is that. Hearing our brothers' journeys and their stories from college to work to eventually joining the brothers, those decisions were their responses to God's call to love. At this certain time, even as an office staff, even as a student, we're being called to love in a certain way. And maybe it would come to a point that it would be clearer and clearer, little by little, that our vocation is really our choice and God's choice and God's guidance on how we could best love and how we could best be loving persons to those who are with us. So thank you, brothers, for sharing those very insightful stories. Sorry, bro.
I think that saint's name is Saint Luigi Enriquez.
Oh, sorry. I'm far from being saint.
Another calling.
Very profound
want to be a
reflection,
saint.
Brother
That's
Luigi.
true.
Yeah.
It
Thank you
suits
very
you,
much.
Brother Luigi.
Yeah, and of course, more than that, it's difficult to love, but it's always worth it, right? So, thank you, brothers, for sharing your stories to us today.
Yes, and on that note, we are at the end of our podcast. Like Brother Luigi said, thank you so much to Brother Mico and Brother Vince for joining us here at Green Giant FM. I'm sure that I can speak for many of us when I say that we've definitely learned so much from what we talked about today. Brother Luigi, do you have any last words for our viewers?
Right, so to all of you who would like to learn how the brothers love and would like to learn more about us as the De La Salle brothers, of course, we're very, very open to having more young men who would like to learn how a brother loves. And if you're one of those who are interested to learn more about us, you may send me an email at vocations@delasalle.ph, or we got a new phone number. You could give us a message if you're interested in the brother's life. But you could reach us in a very easy way if you contact us through email at vocations@delasalle.ph, as I said, or you may visit our websites and Facebook and Instagram platforms at DLS Brothers PH. That's on Instagram and Twitter. And then you may check us out here. We have videos of how the brothers live and promotional videos of what the brothers really do. On YouTube, that's the De La Salle Brothers of the Philippines. And on Facebook, again, the De La Salle Brothers of the Philippines. And thank you very much for taking time to listen to our stories. And we hope to hear your stories too in the future.
Thank you so much. And for all our viewers out there, you can continue to keep posted on our social media as Green Giant FM, which is our Facebook and Twitter. You can find us as Green Giant FM, on Instagram as @greengiant.fm. And you can also find us on our website, which is greengiantfm.com. And of course, our YouTube, which is DLSU Radio, Green Giant FM. So once again, my name is Cora, and this was What's Up, Bro?
Wow.